Hello, I am here to show you a little bit about your IEP. I'm going to use this PowerPoint in this video, and you should have sitting with you your IEP, your Individualized Education Plan with your name on it, and also a set of questions, scavenger hunt questions to answer. So first we want to talk about what is an IEP. And really, it's a legally binding document that has many pieces of paper that specifically explains or tells all about what special ed services or what kinds of help you will receive, and why. An IEP is special to you. Your IEP does not look like anyone else's because it's individualized. It's taking a look at how you learn best and what kinds of things can be done in the classroom to get you to learn all that you need to know. So you might be asking yourself, am I in special ed? Well, yes, you are. And you might be thinking, what? You've got to be kidding me. There's so many different types of students in special ed classes. It might not be exactly what you think of when you first hear the two words special ed, and that's okay. It just means that you get special help because you learn a little bit differently. There's many different reasons why someone might learn differently. In fact, here are some reasons for special ed or special education services. We sometimes talk about calling them different labels. And if you look at them, the first one is CD, which means cognitive disability, PI, physical impairment, SLD, specific learning disability. I feel like a lot of the students that I see have this type of a label. VI is a visual impairment. HI can be hearing impairment. DB is deaf blind. SL is speech and language. EBD is emotional behavior disorder. OHI is other health impairment. This is another one where a lot of students that I see in the classroom, this is where they have their label. So ADHD and ADD fall underneath OHI. Just like if you had something to like anxiety, that could be under other health impairment, but it also could be under emotional behavior. The last three are developmental disability, or DD. AUT stands for autism, and TBI stands for traumatic brain injury. So I'd like for you to take a moment and figure out which one is on your IEP. You'll take a look. It's under your primary disability. Okay, and sometimes we have a secondary disability. That just means maybe you have your speech and language taken a look at, or maybe there's some other health impairments. So make sure to look at that and then put that on your check or your hunt questionnaire. Okay, another thing we like to look at is the date of your next reevaluation. When you're in special ed, every 3 years, teachers, professionals, your parents, guardians, counselors, lots of people come together at a meeting and they take a look at, do you need to continue to have services? Do you need to have things like accommodations and modifications made so that you can learn as much as possible? So you might want to take a look at when the next reevaluation date is for you. If you have one coming up this year, that means we haven't looked at your IEP for reeval in 3 years. And we'll do that this year and have some meetings. If you have it next year, that means we looked at it 2 years ago. And if you have it in the next 3 years, well, then yours was probably looked at just last year. Another thing that's interesting with an IEP is you have a case manager. And I am a case manager for all of the students that I see. That means I take care of this IEP. I make sure that all the teachers understand it. I make sure that all of every part of it is filled out and that we continue to use it throughout the whole school year as a guide. I also will make an IEP for you for next year when you go to the high school. So you'll want to take a look and see who your case manager was. And then every meeting we write who was there, and that usually will include you now that you're older. So you can take a look at all of those items. So I already talked about 1, 2, and 3. The next part of the IEP might look a little bit different because our forms changed, but here's the cool part. There's some strengths that were written about you by your teacher, mom and dad, or grandma, grandpa, or whoever is a guardian. Probably put in a little bit of input, how they see you, what kinds of things they want you to work for. And then down here, anything medical is written down. So maybe we need to know that you have glasses. Maybe it's important to know that you take this type of medicine and you take it in the morning or you take it at lunch. So that's where you'll see some of that. This is my favorite part as a teacher. Down here is the academic achievement. It talks about what strengths you have and then what areas do we need some improvement in. And any of those areas needing improvement, they get a goal and we put them as a number on the side. So that's something you want to pay attention to. So there's not only academic achievement, but there's also speech and language communication goals, motor sensory development goals, social emotional status, or maybe social emotional goals. And last but not least, you might have functional performance or vocational goals. That, for some of you, if you have anything in here, it's because you are going to be 14 and a half soon. And so we start looking into your future. So that's what that is. I call this area the transition goals. All those words kind of mean the same thing, vocational and transition. Some of you might not have any information in these areas, and that's okay. Some of you might have a couple things. That's also okay. It's special to you. Okay, so some things that you're gonna answer are a strength, an area needing improvement, maybe that be reading or math or completing homework. Then I want you to look and see how many academic goals do you have on your IEP. A reading goal counts as 1, a math goal is 2, and then if you have a written expression or a writing goal, English goal, that would be 3. Also take a look at, do you have speech and language goals? Do you see Mrs. Cervantes? Do you have motor sensory goals? Do you have social emotional goals? And do you have those transition goals I'm talking about? Those transition goals would sound something like, Mrs. Lavoie will come to class prepared with all the necessary materials. Okay, so take a look and count those. Here is what your goal sheet looks like. I really want you to pick one. Your goal is up here, and then there's what are called benchmarks. They're little parts to your goal. They're little steps that you have to meet to make this final goal. I take a look at those every quarter and I send them home and let your parents know and your guardians know how you're doing. I also like to let you know how you're doing on these goals or in benchmarks. Okay, so this one says list 3 of the area subjects where you have goals and then take one specific benchmark. But it's also good for you to look at all of your goals. I'm going to pause this movie here and I'll create the next part in a different movie, but I am talking too long.